Hello friends, welcome to Testingshala YouTube channel. So in this video, I will be giving a full details about what is all about basics of Scrum. I'm going to give a brief introduction that would help you to understand what is all about Scrum. So before get to know about what is all about Scrum, so let us understand what is all about waterfall model, because this is the waterfall model. Most of the people knows it, so that you guys can correlate what is waterfall model and what are the differences you may see in Scrum model. So if you can see, right, this is a waterfall model. So waterfall model, what we will have, so we have a sequence of activities, right? It start with the requirements. We collect all the requirements, we get it confirmed from the customer, everything is fine, all the stakeholders, they are fine with the requirements. Once the requirements are done, then we'll move to the design phase. Once the design phase is done, then we'll go to development or coding, then testing, then we are going to deploy to the customer place. Let's say if it takes 6 months to implement, then customer has to wait completely for 6 months to get the features or product to the customer. And nobody is willing to wait for so much time, 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, without knowing anything what is really happening in the project team. Hence, this new methodology has been brought in. If you can see, right, in agile, so basically again you will be having a requirement, design, then you are coding, test. So at the end of the first sprint, so we'll have a minimum shippable product, which customer or client can see what actually the development team has been implemented. In the similar way, when they move on to the next sprint again, so they again develop some more new features. So it will goes in a more of a cumulative manner. So it will keep adding features by features to the product. At the end of the, let's say, at the end of the 6 months, let's say, so you'll have a bigger product. But client here need not wait to see at 6 months to see complete feature of the product, but you can see within a month or within 2 weeks only you can see whether really it is going very well or not in the Scrum work. So in that way, if you can see, that is the main difference between waterfall model and Scrum model is waterfall model customer can see the working product only at the end of the release, but in agile or a Scrum the working minimum viable product can be seen even in the short of first week or second week or third weeks, based on the sprint cycle or based on the length of the sprint. Let us first talk about what are the important roles which is there in the Scrum team. So the first would be a product owner. The product owner is a person who takes care of all the requirements which is going to be collected from all the stakeholders, and he collects and put it in the product backlog. I'm also going to explain you what is all about product backlog, but he is a person, he is going to interact with all the stakeholders including client team, and he derives all those information and put it in as a user stories into the product backlog. The second role would be in the Scrum team is, which is a Scrum Master. So Scrum Master who acts as a point of contact for all the activities which are going to be happening in the Scrum teams. All the activities could be, you can talk about all the processes, all the deliverables. He is the only single point of contact, and he is a person, he is going to work with all other people to ensure that whatever the activity which is been planned for that sprint, is the sole person to deliver that. He is a sole person, is responsible for Scrum delivery, and he takes care of everything by interacting with various stakeholders. It could be product owners, product management, and other stakeholders, and you will also be showcasing how the work is really happening in the Scrum teams. Scrum Master would also take the status from the Scrum team, and he will update the same thing in the status reports and as well as burn down charts that gives the clarity to the client where we are really moving in that given sprint. The third role is a team. The team could be a tester, a developer, documentation team, or business analyst, you name it. All other roles would be part of as a team here. Any Scrum team, these are the only three roles will be there. One is product owner, Scrum master, and a team. These are the only three important role will be there in any Scrum teams. So now let us move on to understand what are the different meetings which will happen in the Scrum team. What are the various meetings will happen in the Scrum teams, which are sprint planning meetings. So sprint planning meetings is the first meeting which will happen to define all the backlog items, right? Sprint backlog items. So in the sprint planning, basically what happens, so whatever the product backlog you have, and those would be taken up and they will do a breakdown into the smaller things, and they will do an estimation. They will do an estimation in the sprint plan activities. Then we'll have a daily stand-up meeting. Daily stand-up meetings, this meeting would be run by Scrum Master. Basically, Scrum Master would be taking all the status from their team members, and he would be asking three important questions. What happened yesterday, what is happening today, is there any impediments? These are the three important questions he would be asking, and this meeting doesn't take more than 10 to 15 minutes, and this is a very short meeting which happens every day, where every team member has to give his updates. Third meeting, which is happens normally at the end of the sprint, which is called as a sprint retrospective meetings or a demo. So here either developer or a tester or BA, it takes care of presenting whatever has been implemented in that sprint to the product owner to get a sign off from him, because he is the authority to provide a sign off for whatever the product or whatever the feature which is planned for a given sprint, whether that is really working or not. Is a person is going to sign off, so that if he sign off, so whatever the features that has been implemented in that sprint can be shipped to the customer. At the end of the every sprint, there would be a minimum shippable product would be delivered from the Scrum teams that would be getting reviewed or getting demoed in the sprint demos, and sprint retrospective meeting will happen just to do a post-mortem. Sprint retrospective meeting will happen just to see where are the gaps in the system, what are the things we can improve, what are the things the gaps are there, how can we fill so that we can do better in the coming sprint. So let me explain you what is the difference between product backlog versus sprint backlog. The product backlog, if you can see, right? So all the requirements which are collected from the customer or various stakeholders, that would be placed in the product backlog. All the requirements, whatever the requirements collected from the customers, that items will be placed in the product backlog. Then there would be a meeting will happen, which is a sprint planning meeting. So where there will be sprint planning meeting where Scrum Master, developers, everybody will be part of this sprint planning activities, and they would be picking up the product backlog based on the priority and what is the product owner is really looking every sprint. Based on that, the team would be picking, and they would be doing a detailed estimation using various methodology, like it could be poker planning or any other Fibonacci series, or it could be any other estimation techniques in agile. They would be making every item or a user story, they break down into a smaller chunk of activities, can be easily achievable in a given sprint. Normally the activities, they would be breaking down till you get minimum 9 hours or 10 hours, so that it can be easily measurable. We'll try to break down the task in such a way that it can be easily measurable, and whatever the items task which has been bifurcated or made into a smaller items, they will put it into a sprint backlog. And those activity, whatever we broke down till 9 hours or 10 hours activity, that would be tracked in the Scrum team. That would be tracked in the Scrum team to ensure that whatever planned in that sprint, that is whether we are really achievable or not, that would be tracked as part of sprint deliverables. At least now you guys got an idea what is all about product backlog versus sprint backlog. Now let us move on. So basically, what are the various deliverables we get it out of the Scrum deliverables? The main thing is product backlog, which is done by the product owners. He collects all the requirements, placed there, all the user stories are requirements. The sprint backlog, this is owned by your Scrum Master, and you will work with entire his team just to ensure that he takes critical or very prioritized user stories and he try to put it into the sprint backlog after doing a detailed estimations. Then this is a burn down chart. After placing all the user stories and they break down into a further task, those tasks is planned for a given sprint, moving and how we are trying to deliver, right? That's where the burn down chart is going. This is a burn down chart, right? So here we have an total task which is 30 days. Let's say we have a total task which is 30 days. Now we are going to measure everything towards days timeline, right? This is a sum of the estimation of the task is total 30 days of the work. So that means all activities which are planned here, we are able to burn all the things and we are able to deliver the things properly. If something which is not happening, as per the ideal task planning, then there should be a mechanism of escalation by the Scrum Master if he needs any support from anybody in the team. So that is how the burn down chart would be look like, and this burn down chart would be seen by all the stakeholders just to ensure that this is very transparent graph, everybody can see it, and if it is really deviating, Scrum Master has to highlight to all the stakeholders and ensure that he get the right attention from all the stakeholders to solve or mitigate all the issues and risks. Put together everything and let's see how this is really we can put it in a nutshell what is all about Scrum, right? So if you can see, right, this is the inputs which we normally get it from the stakeholders, customers, executives, whoever, right, end users. Then that would be collected by the product owners. Then you would be putting in the product backlog with the priority for every feature. Then there would be a sprint planning meeting will happen with the team along with the Scrum Master. They would be taking up these features and they will try to break down to user stories or a task in such a way that can be put it into the sprint backlog. If you can see, right, this is a sprint backlog. Now normally the sprints, every sprint cycle will happen 2 weeks, 3 weeks or 5 weeks. Maximum is a 5 weeks, minimum is a 1 week cycle. So in the sprint cycle, what happens? It is again, as I said, this is a mini cycle where we do requirement, then design, coding, testing, then we'll have a sprint demo or retrospective meeting will happen. This would continue to happen every 1 to 4 weeks based on the sprint timeline, and every day Scrum Master has to update all the data or whatever the activities or tasks being done by the team. He has to update into the agile management tools, where using that tools we can get the burn down chart that would be visible to all the stakeholders, and they would be watching what is really happening in a given Scrum teams. And also there would be a daily stand-up meeting would be happening in the Scrum teams, which would be driven by the Scrum Master on day-to-day basis. And at the end of the sprint, at the end of every sprint, there would be a sprint review meeting will happen, or a sprint retrospective meeting will happen, where they are going to assess or they were going to give a demo to the product owners to get a sign off from the product owner, just to ensure that whatever it has been agreed has been really we have completed or not. So that kind of sign off will be provided by the product owner. Once the sign off is done, there would be a sprint retrospective meeting will also be done, just to ensure that whatever loopholes or gaps which are any or with lesson learned, that can be done in a better way in the next sprint. This is how in a nutshell Scrum will really work. How the Scrum is getting delivered, everything I am hoping you guys got a clear idea. The idea of what is all about Scrum, then please give a thumbs up. If you guys are not subscribed to Testing Shala till now, then please click on subscribe and bell icon so that all our future videos will be in your inbox as and when we publish our new videos. We will catch you up in the next video. Until then, bye.